The unknown things that go bump in the night return in full force for the scary Halloween sequel, Paranormal Activity 2. Welcome back to RealScreenReviews.com. I'm Nick Iacobucci, and our next movie review is Paranormal Activity 2. And this Fright Fest opened in wide release on Friday, October 22nd, 2010, and it stars as the only credited actors Katie and Micah from the first Paranormal Activity. But this feature does have a new family to terrorize in this chapter. This film also comes to us from director Kip Williams, whose previous efforts are worth mentioning about as much as this one, which isn't saying much at all. As I just stated, there is a new band of family members to frighten, and they are mixed with some familiar faces for us. We have a husband with a daughter, a teenage daughter from a previous relationship that is married to a new bride, and together they have a small infant son named Hunter. Now here is the fun twist. The events of this film are occurring prior to the events of the first adventure, and our characters are actually related to Katie from the original Paranormal Activity. Katie and Micah show up and connect the dots from one storyline to the other, but it is her sister and their family that are the stars of this movie. As before, odd and strange things start to happen, and more than a few scary situations seem to befall our family. They take precautions by installing 5 or 6 video cameras in and around the house, and soon need to reference these tapes in order to find some kind of proof as to what is actually happening to them. The older daughter and mom are both in complete agreement and believe that something is very wrong in their residence, and even their nanny is compelled to burn incense in an attempt to rid the house of evil spirits. As our tale plays out, the scares become louder and more frequent. We have baby monitors broadcasting questionable voices, pots and pans that fall from the ceiling on their own, and pool cleaners that have minds of their own. We also become privy to the fact that if someone in a family makes a deal with a demon for some type of financial or beneficial gain, the demon has the right to take the first male child born under the deal maker. If it cannot be fulfilled, it will pass to their descendants until the debt is paid. Now, unfortunately for our protagonists, Hunter is the first male offspring in their family since the 1930s, and then the struggle ensues as to who will be safe and who will end up with the child. Well, people, this couldn't be more of a gigantic step down from the first Paranormal Activity, and I'll start with the most obvious reason. It's a complete and utter copy of the first one. Why was the first Paranormal Activity so good? Because it was fresh and original and something we had never seen before. And this time they don't make it similar, they out and out carbon copy it thoroughly and completely. Now, there are many jumps in this feature, but it's not really that scary in the least. And I would go so far as to say that the first 65 or 75 minutes, not much happens at all. You know, some doors bang shut, loud noises make you jump, but I believe that the last 5 minutes of this entire film is the only satisfying part of it. Now, I will say that I admire the fact that it isn't like the Saw franchise, where it's really not a bloody film and there's really not much gore to it, but the whole project on a whole felt phony. The first one felt so genuine and it was so frightful, and this was just fake and mindless and a cheap imitation of that original idea. In this film, when things take a turn for the worse, and something is visibly wrong with his wife, and it's all pretty much hitting the fan at this point, the father has to leave his family and go to a business meeting. This actually evoked a laughter from the theater that I was in. And when he returns, his wife is so out of it, she actually looks like she's possessed by the devil himself, and all he does is tuck her in and put her to bed. Like, once again, laughter throughout the theater. Paranormal Activity had to be one of the longest 90 minutes of my life, with a clumsy climax to boot. It lacked all the magic and originality of its predecessor, and when the teenager in the film becomes the voice of reason, or an olive oil cross is the best weapon that we can think of, I believe we've used up all of our good ideas, and we're only on part 2. Only 1.5 stars out of 4 for one of the biggest disappointments to come out of Hollywood in quite a while. And remember, people, I'm not always right, only when it comes to the movies. And thank you very much for your attention.